Alright everyone, it's time to talk about the one smart thing Salon has written up in the entire year, which is its latest article about how there will be no blue wave in 2018. There will be no impeachment of Donald Trump. Those are both fundamentally true. As far as the blue wave idea, the idea by some very optimistic and slightly delusional Democrats is that they're going to be able to retake the Senate and the House in the midterm elections because Trump will be unpopular. I would point out that Trump's level of unpopularity is not particularly advanced. You may see some one-off poll that says he's at 30% approval put out by MSNBC or CNN. These are the same firms that underestimated Trump's support by 5 to 10 points in various states during the election, so I wouldn't put too much stock in them. More legit polling firms with better methodologies still put him in the 40s, which is hardly in the danger zone. Additionally, there's another problem. The Democrats right now, gearing up for the campaign as it were, are running on the sole platform of Trump is unpopular and we're the anti-Trump party. They're not even taking into consideration the thing that screwed them during the general election. Look, the Democrats screwed themselves because they looked at polling on a national level and ignored the states. That's why they began to hemorrhage support in the Rust Belt. They were looking at it and saying, oh yeah, we're a couple points ahead there, but we're like 10 points ahead nationwide. Clinton's way ahead of Trump. She's going to win because the polls say so. They cherry-picked the most optimistic national polls, ignored most of the state-level polls, and in some states they didn't have polling by legit firms, so they saw they were 5 points ahead. They were actually 5 points behind. And that screwed them. And I don't think they've learned their lesson because they're riding on these national polls saying Trump is unpopular, but they're ignoring the fact that these candidates in the states, some of which are in fairly safely red zones, are not Donald Trump. They're state-level Republicans. They're running, for the people of their state. They're not running a national campaign. They haven't understood this. When I gave the Republicans advice to fixate on some of these state races, certainly prop up every senator that you can, because there is still the possibility that the Democrats can take the Senate back. I would say that possibility, though, is slim. It's less than 50-50, certainly. In the Senate, there are 22 potential Democrats up for re-election. 18 to 22, I believe, is the number, or 23, if I remember correctly. With the Republicans, it's 8. That means that the Democrats have to work uphill the entire way. See, 4 of those Republican seats are safe red anyway. The Democrats won't even contest them, which means that they can gain a maximum of probably 3 or 4 seats in the Senate by chipping away at Republican support. That gets them to 1 seat over the threshold. That gets them to 51, which is barely a majority. Meanwhile, they have to defend over 20 seats. They can't lose a single one or it's a tied game and Mike Pence becomes the tiebreaker. So they're screwed. They have to defend every single friggin' race there while taking all the Republican seats just to kind of break even. That would be a stellar victory for the Democrats. Do you think, honestly, that the Republicans can't chip away 2 or 3 of those Democratic seats, meaning that the best the Democrats do is gain a seat and make it a tied game within the Senate? They're screwed in the Senate, actually. The chance is very, very remote that they regain it. It's possible, but they would have to rely upon Trump crashing and burning much more spectacularly than he has. They want to proclaim that he's a total loser and a failed president. That's not the way the people of the United States, let alone in some of these red states, see it. And so the Democrats have to make a lot more headway in order to do anything there. As for the House, it's already a lost cause. As far as impeachment goes, the Russian collusion line that's being investigated has been largely prefaced on half-assed comments made in public by some intel heads that probably indicate Russian trolling and sock accounts online for propaganda purposes as opposed to direct deal-making with anyone in the Trump campaign. And now is prefaced on, oh, but Jared Kushner may have done something wrong. Let me tell you, there are a hell of a lot of core Trump fans that would love for Jared Kushner to be canned. They would love him to be dragged off to a jail cell or fired by Trump himself. They would find it amusing, as long as Steve Bannon ends up inheriting that position or something along those lines. A lot of us don't like Jared Kushner. A lot of people see him as a globalist, as somebody who's compromising Trump's actual plans for the country as sort of an inner agent of the deep state or something like that. Nobody cares whether Kushner goes. It's sort of like James Comey. The Democrats can pretend all day that they were outraged, but they were calling for his resignation before Trump fired him. They only began to care and defend him when Trump was the one doing the firing. They called for his head when Obama was still president. It's a non-issue. Trump is not going to be impeached for Russian collusion. That's a lie spawned by the DNC to cover its ass. What the DNC did is realized, shit, all of our personal information has been released to WikiLeaks by some disgruntled Bernie Sanders fan who found out that we were colluding directly with CNN and MSNBC and Colbert, by the way, and with the Clinton campaign. Whoops, we better blame Russia, make it a partisan issue so that at least the Democrats won't abandon us, because we can't afford to lose a bunch of millions of Bernie Sanders fans by them finding out about this collusion. We need to make it a partisan issue so that we can get infighting going on. It's preferable to the alternative. So they spawned the Russia lie, which is exactly what it is. That's its origins. Its origins are obviously fake. It has then since spiraled out of control, and even now, you see with this story, with prior stories by Being Liberal and Salon and Vox and all these others, they've been demoralized. They realize Trump's not going to be impeached. Certainly not for the Russia issue. They realize that now, so they backtracked after days of declaring, oh, the Trump presidency is almost over. You know, I'm with her, ha ha ha. It's going to be great to watch Trump get forced out of office into a jail cell. They realized that wasn't going to happen because they realized there was no actual evidence that anything had gone on. And that if there were evidence, if by some miracle he actually had colluded with Russia, he covered his tracks. So Kushner gets canned, or Flynn gets canned. Trump doesn't get canned, because there's no paper trail leading back to Trump, and I don't even fucking care if he colluded with the Russians. I honestly don't. What's the difference between that and a head of state colluding with the UK, or with France, or something like that? As long as nobody's controlling him, I don't care if he struck a deal with the Russians. I honestly don't care. I don't see the problem with it. As long as no dark money changed hands, and as long as nobody's controlling anybody else, we want to see Russia as some sort of eternal boogeyman, like it's still the USSR. The Cold War supposedly is over. Obama said that when he was running against Romney. Oh, Russia's not an enemy of the US, just a competitor. The Cold War's been over for years, Mitt. You know, join the modern century, essentially. Well, the Democrats seem to have abandoned this Obama line now. Now they're all stuck up about Putin's existence as though he was Satan incarnate or something. There will be no impeachment because Trump didn't collude with the Russians. I'm convinced of that at this point. I think it's all a literal witch hunt. I don't think you're going to impeach him. I think years from now, people will have forgotten about the entire fucking issue. They'll move on to some other yellow journalism, which is what it is. It's, it's hit piece after hit piece to try to denigrate Trump's support because the globalists are terrified of him. They're terrified that he's going to break all the toys and make multinational corporations actually pay taxes for a change, which means there'll actually be middle class and small business tax relief and fewer proxy wars, which means that we'll actually have purchasing power again. The people of the United States will have leisure time. Oh no, they'll use the internet. They'll abandon the corporate media. Oh no, it's going to be terrible for the bottom line of the New York Times. Will be dead fish. The bottom line of CNN and MSNBC will be turd. That's what they're worried about. That's why they keep hitting him over and over. Not because of Russia bullcrap. The intel heads that came out months ago and said, yes, there's evidence of Russian interference in the election. One by one now coming before Congress say, oh no, we don't have any specific evidence. Yeah, we don't have any specific evidence anything happened. Or we're moderately confident that there was interference. What form did it take? Trolling. Bot accounts, sock accounts online, on Facebook or Reddit or something like that. That's not hacking an election. That's trolling. Every state does it. The U.S. has tens of thousands of sock accounts fielded just by the U.S. Air Force. They openly announced that program, I think it was back in 2009. It's a normal function of the state's military and intelligence apparatus. I think it's regrettable. I don't think it should be going on. I think it's very dishonest, but it happens. Any state that can field that shit is going to field it. The internet's a free-for-all because of state action in this manner. which is why those of us who have clearer heads need to fight against propaganda, honestly. That includes Russian propaganda. Russia goes off and kills a bunch of people in some Eastern European bloc or Chechnya or something. Yeah, somebody needs to talk about it. You're not going to hear about it on RT. And their bots will come out to defend Russia's actions, just as bots fielded by the US, by idiots like Obama, they're going to come out to defend the DNC. Oh, it was Russian hackers. It certainly wasn't some leaker within the DNC who knew the dishonesty was going on. We need a federal investigation, one that will go nowhere. And as for this blue wave crap that some of the delusional Democrats are talking about, don't fucking hold your breath. You're likely to lose congressional support in the midterm elections, especially since they're midterms. For the last few midterms, the GOP has vastly outperformed expectations because of low turnout among Democrats. If the general election, the last one, 2016, is any indicator of enthusiasm, you are going to get massacred. You're not just going to lose support, you will be massacred. I can't make that prediction yet because anything could happen in the next year. I can't make that prediction yet because we're too far out. If things remain the same, you might end up with a GOP supermajority in the Senate. It could happen. The GOP shouldn't hold its breath either, waiting for that to happen. It's still unlikely, even if the Democrats persist in having no platform or leadership, or no specific apparatus to defend against Trump populism uprising in some of these states. And by the way, I would just as soon kick every incumbent out. Switch out all 22 incumbent Democrats for Republicans. Switch out all incumbent Republicans, all 8 of them, for Democrats. Get some fresh blood in the Senate, and things might actually begin functioning again. So, you do as you will, essentially. I'd vote for a bunch of independent candidates at this point anyway, because it's clear the Republicans and Democrats, they both have a slew of bad ideas. But there's going to be no blue wave. Expectations within the reasonable bounds of, politics as they're held right now, denies that that's a likelihood. Possibility, yeah, but then again, it's also possible an asteroid hits right before the midterms, the elections get suspended because 100 million people just got killed by an asteroid. But I'm not going to hold my breath waiting for that to happen. It's about as likely at this point as the Democrats retaking the House. As for the Senate, it might be a lost cause anyway. Jeez, anytime you have to target 4 or 5 seats and hold on to every fucking one that you've got, you need about a 3-to-1 superiority in the final results, just in order to actually retake the Senate. I don't know if they can do that, especially without party leadership. Who's leading them? The corporate media is even turning on Hillary Clinton. They're like, oh, she's a woman without a cause. She's confused. She doesn't understand anything. Well, yeah, that's why she lost the election. So good on Salon for publishing its first intelligent article in several years. Usually you make a bunch of crap. This is actually readable. Congrats to you. I still archive the link, though, because I hope you stop existing altogether. Because you deserve it, just like MSNBC, Fox, CNN, The Young Turks, Vox, BuzzFeed, The Blaze, all these retarders. Breitbart at this point, honestly, screw them. That's about all. Peace out.